Good morning, everyone. Leah Dixon here from Port Coquitlam, British Columbia. I am live this morning with my Playing in the Rain card class to go. These are classes that I do regularly on Wednesday mornings, and how it works is I will show you 3 cards, and then you guys have a chance to make a purchase through my shop. The link is in the description of the video, and with a $60 purchase, you'll actually get the supplies to make 2 of each of the 3 cards that I show today. You just need to have a few things at home, like your own stamp set, inks, and adhesives, but all the paper bits will get sent to you. So I'm going to hop right in, spotlight my desktop so you guys can see the stamp set and dies that we're working with today, and we'll get started. So this is the Playing in the Rain stamp set and dies, and this one is actually going to be moving over into our new catalog. You do want to grab it now, though, before May 1st, because it's going to lose its bundle pricing. So Stampin' Up! Does this cool thing where the first time they introduce a stamp set and dies, they actually offer it for 10% off. As like bundle pricing if you buy the 2 at the same time. And so that bundle pricing is actually going to disappear when our new annual catalog goes live on May 2nd. So you do, if you're interested in these guys, you want to grab them before that. So let's move these out of the way. And we are, actually, before we do, I'm just going to show you quickly. This die set is awesome. It comes with all the dies to cut out the critters, even the umbrella, the flowers, the puddle, and the clouds, and the raindrops. Oh, maybe not the raindrops. No, not the raindrops, but we got the flowers in the puddle, the clouds, all the little critters in the umbrella. And then we have so many extra little bits like tree stumps and bridges, a little kite and some grass, and a cutout for little butterflies to have in the sky as well. So really, really cool die set. So I'm going to put that one off to the side, and I'm going to move the stamp case off to the side, and we're going to get started. So our first card today is this little cutie. And so, oh, that's the other thing. I am using the Rain or Shine Designer Series paper that coordinates with this stamp set, and it is retiring. It won't be in the new catalog. It is a cute set, Kim. I love it. All right, so in your packet, if you place an order with me, you'll get actually 2 of these kits. And it has everything in it you need, including the Designer Series paper, and including, no, I did not pre-stamp an image for you, but what I did do was used my Stylish Shape dies to die cut an image off of the Designer Series paper. So I'll just quickly show you here. Oops, sorry, that's so loud. Our Designer Series paper has some beautiful patterns, some fun patterns, some florals. It's got like this glossy texture to the rain page, some really nice patterns on the back. But this page is one of my favorites. You can actually use the dies and die cut all these little critters. And then I just used a circle die to die cut these little flowers to create a little piece to put on your card. So it's kind of tough because I also like the flirty flamingo stripes, but I did use one whole sheet and just die cut all the critters so they're all ready to go. They're colored for you and everything. And then we have one other set that you can't die cut all the critters, but you can die cut one of the sets of clouds, so you can get that really nice colored dark stormy cloud without having to color it. And then these little guys you could totally cut out with circle dies or fussy cut them, and they're so cute. So that is our Designer Series paper. If you wanted cheerier clouds, this piece as well, the dies fit on these little 3 bundles of clouds. So lots of options there for you. Okay, I'm going to move this paper out of the way. Make sure I take all the scraps, but none of my stuff that I need for today's card. All right, so I have included that die cut piece for you, as well as, of course, the strip of DSP that you'll need for your card front. All right, so let's get stamping. You have an old olive card base. Oh, flying away on me. And we're just going to grab a bone folder and really close that card up so it doesn't keep popping open. That's going to make it easier to do all of our stamping. All right, and then the first thing we're going to do is take one of the larger pieces of basic white cardstock, and we're going to glue this designer series paper right onto the left-hand side so it lines up fully with the edge. We don't want to see any white top, bottom, or side. If your piece doesn't line up exactly, glue it down as best you can, lined up on as many sides as you can, and then just take the piece to your paper trimmer and give it a little trim before you do anything else. And then it's going to look great on the front. Nobody is going to notice if you're 1/32 of an inch out on your mat. So we can go ahead and just trim that if we need to. Mine was actually cut well, and I don't need to do any trimming. So that's always nice. All right, with that piece done, we are going to grab a banner that we have in here. And this is a pear pizzazz banner. And this is actually one of our retiring colors. And I just wanted to sneak it in because I wanted to show you guys how nice it looks with old olive. Like, it really is beautiful. So we're going to, oh, I should take that off my card base. So I'm lining this up straight on my white. And there we go. So we're just going to glue that straight down to our card front. And then the next thing we're going to do is grab our ribbon. And I have included a piece of balmy blue and white variegated ribbon. And this piece, we are just going to attach it by tucking it under the side. So you can grab a mini glue dot, or if you prefer using Seal Plus, which is my preference, you can just grab that. Now, before I actually tuck those ends, you want to make sure that you get your ribbon down. One side, definitely, the blue shows up more. So you want to get it down so the blue side is showing. And I'm doing it so that it layers perfectly over that label that we've got there. Okay, so we've got that done. Next up is to attach our little flowers. Okay, so we want to just put maybe 1 or 2 dimensionals on the back of this guy. Actually, I'm going to do 3. Why not? It's hard to find the corners on a circle. There we go. So I'm going to put 3 dimensionals on the back of that, and I'm going to tuck this under just so that it's off to the side of my white, but my little green grassy patch under my flowers is still showing. Okay, so that's been attached with dimensionals. Now we get to do some stamping. So I'm going to move that off to the side. You've got a piece of, I'm just going to put the lid on my glue here. Sorry, guys. You've got a piece of basic white that's a little bit smaller. And on this piece, we're going to stamp our clouds and our turtle using Memento black ink. So I'm going to grab that black ink, grab my turtle, and we're going to ink him up. So I always like to just look and make sure I've got ink covering everywhere. And we're going to stamp him. And then we're also going to grab our clouds and do the same thing. And we might have to turn those on their side. All right. So we've got clouds and a turtle. And before I put away my ink, I'm going to grab that last piece. Whoops. That last piece of basic white that we had. It's kind of larger. And this is for the inside of our card. And I'm going to grab some flowers and stamp them down in the bottom corner of that piece. I'm also going to grab my envelope and stamp that down in the bottom corner of the front of my envelope. Oh, sorry guys, the focus is really going kind of crazy right now. I don't know what's happening there. Let's see if we can sort that out. There we go. It's really having a trouble deciding where to focus. Okay, let's move our stuff back so that it has something to look at. All right. So with our little turtles, we now get to do some coloring. The first bit of coloring I'm going to do is actually the really easy coloring on our flowers. I'm going to grab a dark Daffodil Delight and use the pointy end of it and just do a little dot in the center of each of these flowers. Okay. Now, Daffodil Delight is a blend that will be carrying over. So if you don't own it, you might want to grab it, but it will be around for some time. All right. And then I'm also going to get my Old Olive blends, and I'm going to use my light blend. Again, the thin end, the thin tip. And I'm just going to do a quick color of the leaves on these flowers on both the envelope and the inside of my card. There we go. All right, so those are done. I can now glue this layer to the inside of my card. That way it will be out of the way and I won't accidentally stamp on it or drop something on it. So I like to use liquid glue for this. I do use the wide end of my liquid glue so that I can really spread a very thin layer. But I like it because once I put this into my card, it's not totally secured to begin with. I have a little bit of time to do some wiggling before it dries and grabs on. There we go. Okay, and I just realized that banner is kind of in your way. So I'm going to hide that banner. I think we're far enough in. You guys know what you're watching. And here we go. Get a little bit better view of the screen. All right. So I'm going to put that off to the side. And we are going to color our turtle now. So I'm going to use both of my Old Olives now. I'm going to use my light Old Olive with the paintbrush tip. Allows me to go a little bit quicker, cover a little bit more space. I'm going to use the paintbrush tip. Now, when you use the paintbrush tip, you do want to go like quite gently. You don't need to push down with this. It's kind of like you're just using the tip of a paintbrush. And that's actually going to help prolong the life of your Stampin' blends and stop the tips from fraying. So you want to be really quite gentle. We also want to move fairly quickly when we do this so that our blends, the alcohol blends, aren't drying before we're finished coloring. That's what allows us to have the streak-free look, is it stays a little bit wet and blends together when we do it while it's still wet. There we go. All right, so I've got all my bits that I want to be light Old Olive colored in. I realized I forgot one section with my Daffodil Delight. I need to color in the center of this daisy as well. There we go. All right, now I'm going to take my thin tip on my dark Old Olive and I'm going to come in and just go highlight some of the areas that they've highlighted. And then I'm going to use the thicker end to color in the rest of this shell. And so very quick movements. Don't hold the pen in one spot because it will just kind of like leak out everywhere and bleed outside of the lines. All right, now once I've done that once, I can go back in and add some highlights. Okay, some spots I might want to have darker. There we go. All right, so he's all done. And then we're going to grab our crumb cake to color in his belly. And I'm actually just using dark crumb cake for the whole belly. The light one I found was too light for this. We're still going to be able to get some variation in tone on here because after we've colored it once, then we can come back and add in some more, especially while it's still wet, so that we get that deepening in the one, like just along the front of him. Okay, And then we can even highlight these little lines a bit more by coming back in again with the thin end and just doing that. All right. So the blends are really nice for that ability to really get lots of shading and everything on our characters. Now, my clouds actually do have some color on them. It's a little bit hard to see probably on the screen, but I've put in a tiny little light blue shadow. So I've got my balmy blue. I'm grabbing my paintbrush end of that. And actually, no, sorry, I didn't use my paintbrush end. That's going to be too thick. My thin end. And I'm just going over the little lines that they've actually put on the clouds. And then in addition to that, I just kind of came in along the bottom edge and just did the first three little loops. I just kind of underlined them on the inside. There we go. So it just adds the slightest amount of color to our clouds and just gives it a little touch that you don't really notice it, but you notice when it's not there. All right, with those done, we are going to die cut them. So I'm going to grab my little mini machine. Now I am using my boho blue. I'm so excited. Starting yesterday, any demonstrators who did not get this little guy before can actually order him now. And then if there are any left on May 2nd, Stampin' Up's going to be offering the mini boho blue to customers as well. So if you love the boho blue and your demo, grab it. If you love it and you're a customer, you can take your chances and wait till May 2nd, or you can contact me about joining my team and being able to put this like right on your starter kit order even. There's lots of perks to joining my team, especially right now, because right now demos are in a pre-order time where we can pre-order out of the new catalog. We're going to get our own copy of the new catalog early. And then like my team, they get these videos that I do. They get the tutorials for these videos for oops, my die just slipped, sorry. They get the tutorials for these weekly card classes that I do for free. Each week I post them on our team site. And we also have team meetings, which are, I call them the cheapest classes. They just pay for the minimal shipping and materials that they receive at the card classes and nothing else. And yeah, and then we do swaps together. We do challenges, prizes, all sorts of stuff, and share stamping inspiration. So it's kind of nice. Nice way to have a little stamping community of your own. All right, so we've got those bits die cut. We're going to put them off to the side, and we'll bring our card back in. Now we have this vellum circle, and so the first thing I'm going to do is attach my turtle to my vellum circle using dimensionals. All right, so I'm going to put one on his head, one on his body, and one kind of up near his hands. You don't need to use that many. 2 would probably hold him in place nicely. And the lovely thing about a circle is that you don't have to make sure he's straight. You just have to center him. Okay. Now on the back of this, you can use mini glue dots, or I like to use my Seal Plus. And I'm just going to put some strips of adhesive behind my turtle. Means my adhesive is going to be hidden. Nobody's going to be able to see it through the vellum. And then I'm going to bring him in and put him so it looks like he's standing on that little green layer of our label that we put on there. Okay, so with that done, I can now grab my twine. And you'll notice you have 2 pieces of twine. Well, in your kit, you'll have 4 because you're making 2 cards. That is not a mistake. This is a double bow that we've created. So you want to line up your 2 pieces of twine together, tuck them under this balmy blue variegated ribbon, and then right between the 2 circles, we're going to tie a knot. So I just looped that around each other. Okay, come on. Tie a knot. All right. Perfect. So with that knot tied there, I'm going to make 2 sets of bunny ears and loop them around each other and pull that until I get the size of bow that I want. Okay, looking good. Okay, so with that done, now I can trim up the ends of this twine. Oh yeah, Kim, it's a really nice perk. They really enjoy it. And I just love to be able to see what they stamp, because often, you know, they don't have every stamp set. They don't have exactly what I'm using. So our team will post cards that they've created using the same layout, but a different stamp set. So it's really nice to be able to see so many ways to use our kits. All right, that's done. Now, I just realized I did not stamp my sentiment on here, but that's because I've got a slightly different piece in my Oh Happy Day. Wasn't going to fit very nicely in the space I had. So I'm going to skip the Oh Happy Day on this one. On the original, I actually used Versamark and white embossing powder and put it right on the front. For this one, let's see where it might end up falling and how we're going to do it. So, because the spacing of this one's a little bit different. All right, so I might put that cloud over there and leave some space over here. So I might change it up, not entirely, but quite a bit actually. So I'm going to cover up those two and do it like that. And then we can put our Oh Happy Day over here, and I'm going to do it in balmy blue since I'm putting it on the white side. So you kind of have that option depending on the piece of designer series paper you get, to put the sentiment. Actually, do I want to do that, or do I want to kind of do that? That might be cute. I'm going to keep it like that and then put my Oh Happy Day down there. That's what I'm going to do. So play around with it and do what's right for the piece of designer series paper you got, because these are being cut out of a bigger sheet of DSP, a 12 by 12 piece, and they're being cut at 2 inches. So each one's going to be a little bit different in terms of how the flowers fall, how the clouds fall, that kind of thing. So we'll just play around with it. So on this one, we'll use balmy blue ink instead of using the Versamark. All right. And now those clouds don't just get glued on or placed there like I did. We're actually going to put dimensionals on the backs of them so that they pop up. So just one on the back of each is fine. There we go. And this little guy, you can decide if he's going to go behind or in front of your vellum layer. I think I'm going to put him in front of my vellum layer. And my last one. And that one, he's going to cover up that. All right. So there we go. We're almost finished. We have to attach this to the front of our card now. Oh, thank you. I know these critters, honestly, you guys, it's not my card designs. It's these critters. They are so cute. I was talking with another demonstrator friend, and she said she loves it so much because they kind of remind her of the animation of the Disney version of Robin Hood. And I can totally see it. Like, they're just so cute. All right. So we've got that attached, and now we're going to grab some iridescent rhinestones and use those. So let's see. There we go. So the iridescent rhinestones come in 3 different sizes. Oh, mine has a hair attached to it. Thanks. All right. So 3 different sizes, kind of about the same size as a medium regular rhinestone, and then a large rhinestone, and then a much bigger one. And I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool. I'm going to grab a small one and a large one and a medium one, and we'll put this medium one all the way down here to kind of pull everything together with the shine. All right, and that is our finished card. So like I said, we changed it up a little bit because of the DSP, and I think whether you emboss the Oh Happy Day on the blue sky or put it in blue on the white side, it's going to turn out beautifully. So just place those cards in a way that, you know, makes sense for the DSP that you've got. So that's our first card. Put those off to the side, and we'll bring in the materials we need for our second one. So our second one is a fun fold. I love this fun fold. One of my demo friends who I've been doing some work with, she's actually part of my Creative Crafters trio. Greta, she showed us this one during a recent stamp camp, and so it just opens up both ways like that and is super cute and fun. So this one, we've got our card base, and you need a lot of TSP for this one, which I was kind of excited about because I tend to be a bit of a DSP hoarder, and I'm really trying to stop that. So we're going to fold that in, and you'll notice they just fold so that they just touch. They shouldn't overlap or anything, but they just touch in the center. We've got our piece of basic white cardstock that we're going to glue to the inside. Before we do that, though, we're going to stamp some raindrops on it. So that Balmy Blue ink we used on the last card, we're going to pull it out again and use it to stamp some raindrops. Oh, there we go. Now, when I put stamps on a block that they are really too small for, I like to put them either at the top or on the left-hand side of it. Because I'm right-handed, and then just the way I put it into the ink, I'm going to get less chance of having a ton of extra ink on my block because I don't want ink all over my block. All right, and then I'm going to come in and just do a few extras. There we go. Awesome. So we've just put a few raindrops across the top of that piece that's going to go inside our card. And I'm going to do the same thing to my envelope flap. Now, I've shown this before, but I'm going to show you guys again. I have a funny bunny. We were doing a little craftivity in class the other day. So I'm going to put my envelope down so that I've got some space here. I'm going to open my envelope flap, fold this piece in so that it covers the actual envelope, and then I'll close my flap again. So now I've got this great space to be stamping in. Now, my raindrops are directional, so I'm going to turn my envelope the right way again so that I can put these all over my envelope flap and have them not look strange and sideways. Okay. And we're going to put raindrops all over this flap. Move my ink over. There we go. Now for these, you probably want to start at the top and then work your way down. That way you're not going to end up with weird empty spaces. And I'm going to end up with weird empty spaces anyways. That's okay. They're raindrops. All right. So there's our flap all decorated. Okay. It's a cute little rainy card. And actually, while we have those raindrops, we've got one more piece to do. We have our circle. And so our circle is also going to get raindrops on it. Oops. And let's not put them upside down. There we go. And here we go. One more. And a little one there. And there. Okay, so we don't need to do the whole thing, just kind of doing the top half is enough because we're going to be putting a little critter onto this card as well. All right, so we've done a lot of raindrop stamping. We're going to bring some sunshine into this card too, though. So let's bring our base back, and we've got some gluing to do. Now that we've got that base stamped, we're going to glue this piece right to the inside of our card. So when you glue this to the inside, you want the larger flap to be on your left and the smaller flap on your right. And then this gets lined up in the center. Okay. And so then that closes up. We've got 2 pieces of rainy DSP, and these get glued on to the 2 flaps of this card. So again, with the liquid glue, I just get a little ball of it onto the tip of my glue stick and spread that around. Okay, now that one gets lined up on the larger front flap. And do make sure that you're putting your raindrops the right way. They're fat on the bottom and pointy on the top. Otherwise it might look a little odd. Okay, and then this one gets glued onto the other side. There we go. So I like how the one side has lots of rain and then this side seems like it's tapering off and we're moving towards sunshine. Okay, so we'll move that up out of the way. And now you've got another piece of balmy blue. And it was hard for me to decide if I should use umbrellas or the sunshiny flowers. I went with the Mango Melody flowers. I love the color Mango Melody. It is such a happy color. And I thought, what a great way to kind of show the sun is coming, like this rain. It's the April showers bring May flowers, right? And because of our sentiment as well, rainy days are better with you. I just thought it was super sweet to kind of say, like, you're bringing sunshine into my life. So here we go. We're gluing these down. So I know that it doesn't cover the whole thing. That's okay because our sentiment strip is going to cover up part of this. So we're kind of being cheaters and not wasting a ton of DSP. We're just using 2 little 1-inch strips at the top and bottom, and then we're going to cover up the middle where we didn't put our DSP. All right, so that's done. We can now do some stamping. So we'll put that off to the side as well. We have got a balmy blue banner that we're going to put our sentiment on and a little square of basic white that we're going to stamp our little fox onto. So let's start with our fox. I'm going to grab my Memento ink again. And it's so nice stamping these guys knowing that I'm not going to have to fussy cut them. That there are dies that go with these guys, all of them. All right, so you just have to make sure that he's going to stay on your square when you stamp him. That's about the only rule here because we're going to be die cutting him. So smudges on the outside doesn't matter as long as he's stamped on the square. All right, now for our little balmy blue piece, I'm going to grab my embossing buddy. And this guy comes in the embossing additions kit. You get the embossing buddy to remove any oils, and then you get a pair of reverse tweezers, a little paintbrush, and the Powder Pals tray. And so I just actually keep my white powder in my tray. I'm kind of lazy that way. It means I do a lot of embossing because it's so easy. And I'm going to grab my Versamark ink, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment in Versamark on my banner. Now, you're not going to be able to see it because Versamark is basically a clear ink, but it doesn't dry quickly, which is so nice. So now I can take this into my powder, and you can see that the whole thing has picked up that white powder. Now, I have just a little surgery to do on my letter U. It got a little bit too much powder there. So I'm going to actually bring in my Take Your Pick tool and scrape out some of that extra powder. So I might have been a little heavy-handed when I stamped. There we go. So that's all cleaned up. And now I can hold on to this with my reverse tweezers and heat this up. So I love how embossing in white makes things look. Do I just use my chamois to clean off my Versamark? Great question, Kim. Yeah, I do. It does mean that I have to wash my chamois more often because for some reason the Versamark leaves like a little bit of a film on the chamois. But so I find that just after I've used my chamois to clean Versamark, I'll just take it over to the sink with some hot water and rinse it out instead of, sometimes I'm bad. If I'm not using Versamark, I'll leave it for days before I clean it. All right, so I'm just gonna make sure all my powder is out of the way. So our sentiment is stamped and embossed. Now we've got to color our little fox. And so I'm going to actually start with my Old Olive again. You'll see I've used a lot of the same colors. It's mostly because the DSP really dictates your color palette and what's going to look nice with the DSP. So I'm using the fatter paintbrush end of my light Old Olive, and we're going to color in the whole umbrella in light Old Olive. And then I'm going to come back with my dark one, and I'm going to use the paintbrush end and just go over all those lines. Okay, that's about it for that umbrella. Now I'm going to grab my light Daffodil Delight, and I'm going to color the hats and the coat in light Daffodil Delight. Okay. I've been coloring the coats in dark Daffodil Delight, but I found for this particular card, just because of the Mango Melody, it just was a little too dark. I will, however, come in with the fine tip end of my dark Daffodil Delight and just do some of the accents on the jacket, including the buttons. All right, so those are done. I'm just going to move those out of the way. Now we're going to bring in our crumb cake again, and we're going to actually add in a color that I don't use nearly enough, Cajun Craze. It is such a beautiful, like, muddy orange. It's perfect for this little fox. So first things first, I'm going to use my light crumb cake. So before I was using my dark on our turtle, today I'm going to use my light on my fox to color in the tip of his tail. Okay, and you can go over it a few times if you want, make it a little bit darker. It still won't be anywhere near as dark as the dark crumb cake. And then I'm also going to come in and just color his chin, kind of from the top of his slicker to his nose. Okay, and that's all we're doing with our crumb cake. Next up, we have our Cajun Craze, and I am going to come in with my light Cajun Craze to start and do the ears. You're going to find that the light Cajun Craze is actually not that light. Do his little legs, his little hands. Oh, so cute. And the tip of his tail. Not the tip, we've already done the tip of his tail, the rest of his tail. Okay, there we go. And then when we do his face, we're going to do a little jiggy to jag thing here. We're going to kind of like come in along the edge over top of our crumb cake even, and do like draw a little line in there of color, and then color in the rest of his face. All right, with that done, we're going to come back in with our dark Cajun Craze and with the fine tip end, and we're going to highlight all the things that need highlighting. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to come back in with my fine tip on my light, and I'm going to go over that kind of dividing line again, just to really give it some definition. And then I'm going to color with my pen. All right. And just darken up his face a bit. There. Okay. So that is our cute little fox. So the more you color, even just with the light, the darker the color is that you're going to get. And so you can really get some shading going by coloring some spots more than others. If you want it to be kind of a nice blend, then you want to do that while it's still wet. There we go. All right, he is so cute. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and I don't know, there's something about a yellow slicker. It's got to be. All right, so there he is all colored in. Now we get to die cut him. And I love it when you die cut him, it even cuts out the space in between his tail. Like they've designed the dies very well. So we'll pop him into our mini, line him up. And, oh my goodness, I'm in trouble. There we go. So you kind of just keep wiggling until all the bits are outlined nicely. And then we're going to run this through. Now, I just remembered, I didn't mention this earlier when I was using my mini machine. I don't use the standard plates that Stampin' Up! Has recommended for the mini machine. I actually use my plate 3 with my 2 plate 2s to do my die cutting. And then I find I don't have to do anything silly like staggering the plates or anything like that. They just roll through. And it makes the mini machine my favorite because it is so light and so easy to use. All right, so that guy's done. We're going to attach him to our circle now, and I want his little feet to kind of fall off the bottom. I'm going to grab some dimensionals, one for his umbrella, one for his face, one for his tail, and one for his feet. There we go. And I know he's in the rain, but we don't want any soggy bits, nothing drooping. Okay, and we're going to let his umbrella just pop off the one side, his feet pop off the bottom. There we go. All right, now we get to put our card together. So we're going to take our card base and close it up. I'm going to take this strip that we've got here and just put it right beside the fold, with an equal amount top and bottom. And the reason I'm doing that is because this is going to now guide where I put my dimensionals on the front flap. That's going to ensure that we don't glue our card together. Now I'm going to flip this over and put 2 dimensionals on the far side. So this is basically going to go like that. We're going to have dimensionals in these 4 spots and our card won't get glued shut. So we can peel all the backings off of those dimensionals. And then this gets centered on our card front. There we go. So we've got that going on. Now our sentiment is going to go on here, and we're going to attach it with dimensionals. We just want to make sure it's not going off of our card. Okay, so again, I'm going to put 1 dimensional here so that I don't accidentally glue it shut. And then I'm going to put a dimensional on the other end. I'll peel off the backings. And I just want to make sure this is staying on our card front, but is hanging off the edge of our panel. And it's covering up the gap between the 2 pieces of DSP. Now, finally, we're going to attach this guy to our card front. And again, I'm being sneaky. I'm putting the dimensionals on here. Okay, so I'm going to put 2 right there. And then on my circle, I know I can put them at the top and the bottom. And they're not going to go off of the panel. Okay, so then we'll peel off all those backings. And we're going to put this on so that it doesn't cover up our sentiment, and it does go off this edge of our panel, but not off of our card front. Okay, And then the last thing to do for this card is to add some embellishments. So again, we're using the iridescent rhinestones. So I'm just going to, I'm kind of using them as like flower centers. So pop that one on there. There we go. Grab a little one and pop it in here on this tiny flower. And then we'll grab a medium one to go maybe up here on this flower. Okay, so just a few rhinestones to go around the edges and add a little sparkle to that. And then the glossy paper, it's all just so beautiful. Oh, the backings get everywhere. I know. They are pretty bad. All right, so that's our finished card. We have our little raindrops inside and our raindrops on our envelope. And it all goes together beautifully. Okay. Now, our third card today doesn't use any DSP. What it does feature is a whole bunch of retiring colors. So the top color is Sweet Sorbet. It's not retiring, thank goodness. We've got it for at least one more year as part of our In Color series. But the colors of the rest of the rainbow are Mango Melody, So Saffron, Pear Pizzazz, Bermuda Bay, which is my favorite color, Pacific Point, Rich Razzleberry, and Polished Pink. And these are all colors that are retiring this month. So I thought, well, I might as well use them and use them in a beautiful rainbow on this card. I'm going to show you the real trick to creating that. So in your packet, you'll have all your strips of all those colors. If there's any of them that you love, I do recommend grabbing them soon. Colors, especially ink pads, actually are starting to sell out already. It's kind of wild. All right, so we're going to take our large piece of basic white and we're going to start gluing paper strips across here. Yeah, you know, Kim, using all the colors is a really nice way to show them off. But the other thing that it's doing is it's helping me clean up my half-inch strip bin. I actually, every time I trim cardstock, I throw the half-inch strips into this bucket and then I've got half-inch strips ready to go for anything I want, including these awesome cards where we do all this layering. So how this works is we want to just get what we think is a good angle going and lay down our colors in order. These have been cut so that they're just a little bit wider than the cardstock that we're attaching them to. So we do want them to go off the edges. The reason we're laying them out before gluing them is because I want to make sure that I've centered them nicely top to bottom. In terms of the actual angle I've chosen to put them on. Because if you use too steep of an angle, they won't all fit nicely on the two sides. All right, now that's looking pretty good, but I think I have a bit of a bigger space at the bottom than I have at the top. So I'm going to pull my polished pink down just a bit. There we go. Now, it doesn't really matter if your spacing at top and bottom isn't perfect, but I do like to try and get it as close as possible. All right, so that's looking good to me. That looks like I have similar spacing on the top and the bottom. Oh, that's awesome, Kim. Yeah, it's such a great way to keep your scraps. They don't fill up your folders, and then they're ready to use. So I'm going to take my top color and put a strip of glue of some kind across the back, and I'm going to glue it back down. Okay, so we've got that done. I'm now going to remove the rest of my colors, which seems crazy, but it's because I actually want to put my adhesive onto my white, not onto my colors. That way I can get right out to the edges. I'm not going to go down too far yet. This side I know I can go down a little bit further. Okay, and then I'm actually going to run top to bottom so that these are going to stick really nicely. Okay, so I've got adhesive all over there now. And now I'm going to take my next color and line it up and push it down. What this does is it means I'm not going to have sticky ends hanging off of my paper. And I know that this will be stuck right out to the edges. So we're going to do that. Next one. There we go. And then our Bermuda Bay. Oh, I just love these colors. And then Pacific Point. Rich Raspberry. And then you'll see I don't really have enough color there, and that's okay. I'm going to come in on my polished pink. Oops. On my polished pink and run a piece of adhesive across my polished pink again so that it's got really good hold. So now I only have 2 strips that might have adhesive hanging off the edges. And I'm feeling them, and I actually did a good job, and I don't. Yay. All right, so with that done, you've got a few choices. If you wanted to, you could use your stitched rectangles and actually die cut the whole piece so you'd have a nice stitching around the whole thing. They are retiring, you guys. I'm so sad. But if you don't have the stitched rectangles, then just grab a paper trimmer and we're going to cut those edges off. So I actually, for something like this, I do prefer to use my guillotine. I've got an old Stampin' Up! Guillotine from years ago. And so I'm just going to pop this in and cut that off and pop that in and cut that off. So now we have our rainbow all cut and no extra bits anywhere. Okay, so I can take all those little pieces and recycle them. I am a paper saver, but not that extreme. Okay, so with this part all done, that's how you create those beautiful, colorful backgrounds. With that part done, we're going to take another piece of the balmy blue and white variegated ribbon, and I'm actually going to put it around the whole card and have it kind of fall around where the Rich Raspberry and Pacific Point are on our card. There we go. And I'm going to tie a knot first before I try and do anything else. Okay, so wrap it twice and get that nice little granny knot going. Okay, once you have your granny knot, now we can create our bunny ears and make a bow. Okay. There we go. Nice bow. Get it to whatever size you are happy with. Some people like big bows, some people like little bows. Do what makes you happy, what you like the look of. And once we have the right size going on, we are going to trim the ends of that ribbon. And again, trim them how you like them. Some people like long dangly ends. Some people like them trimmed up nice and short. For me, it's as long as it's not going to fall off the edge of the card. That's my big thing. Okay, that's done. We get to attach that to our card base now. So I have just a thick basic white card base, sorry. I never use regular basic white cardstock for a card base. I find it's just not strong enough to hold the weight of all the things that I like to put on my cards. So I always use thick white cardstock for my bases. And here we go. We're going to peel off all those backings. There's so many of them. All right. And we're going to center that onto our card front. There we go. So I like doing it that way because then you don't end up with little ribbon bits on the inside of your card. And I don't know, I don't like that. All right, so we're going to put that off to the side and do some stamping now. So you've got 3 pieces here that we're going to stamp. A tiny little rectangle, a little cloud that was created using our cloud punch, and then a circle. I believe this is the largest, yeah, the largest of the stylus shaped circles. So that's what we're going to stamp on. We're going to grab our Oh Happy Day first and stamp that with balmy blue ink. So, Oh Happy Day. And just kind of move it around until that Oh Happy Day is going to fit right on that cloud. If you own the cloud punch, stamping the sentiment and then punching it out is even easier. But you'll get a cloud in your kit because I don't assume that everybody's going to own all of these things. So you'll just have to figure out how to line it up. All right, then we're going to stamp our bunny onto our circle. Now we are going to, not that there's a left and a right on a circle, but we are going to stamp him kind of to the right. Like the puddle might even go off the circle. There we go. Okay, so he's kind of off to the right. And on this little guy, we are going to stamp his umbrella. There we go. All right. Now, I think that's it for our stamping today. We get to do a little bit of trimming and coloring now. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to trim up my circle. So you can use a paper trimmer for this or a guillotine, whatever you like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this in and I'm going to kind of line it up so that I'm not cutting off his ear, but so that his foot looks like it's flat on the ground. And we're going to trim it. That's going to allow us to put this onto our card front and not take up as much space as a whole circle would have. So a whole circle, we would have had to put it kind of further over. This way we can put them in and line them up against the edge, and he's taking up just a little bit less space. All right, so we get to color our bunny and our umbrella now. I'm going to start with one of the colors that I haven't used yet. This one is a retiring color. This is our light polished pink. And so I'm going to use the fine tip end to color the nose and the ears, just kind of the centers of the ears, and the umbrella. Okay, you could use the paintbrush tip for that. I find those are a little bit of tiny spots and they're a little hard to get in there. And then on the umbrella, I'm going to come in with our dark polished pink just to add some accents to it. All right, next up is our rain jacket. So I'm going to do a yellow rain jacket again, but on this card, because the colors are so bright, I am actually using only the dark. I'm not using the light. So I'm going to color the whole jacket, including, don't forget that one little side to it. I'm going to color the whole jacket in dark Daffodil Delight. And then I'm going to come back in with my finer tip and go over some of the bits on his jacket again. Okay. So if you don't like that look, you can go ahead and do it in light. I think on this one, I did actually do it in light now that I'm looking at it, but it felt too light. All right, now for our puddle, we're going to color our puddle in light balmy blue. There we go. And then we're going to go back in with dark balmy blue and just do that center of the puddle a little bit. You can even come over here to those little raindrops and give them a little burst of color. Then it's up to you. You could keep your bunny white. I just thought he looked a little too plain on the white background. So I grabbed the light crumb cake, not the dark one, and colored him in. And I didn't do too many passes. I kind of tried to color him as quickly as possible to keep the light crumb cake as light as possible. All right, and then when I colored his ears, I actually colored right over top of the polished pink that I had used up there, and it helps kind of mute it and tone it down because it is pretty bright. Okay, but I didn't go over his nose. We left his nose all bright. Okay, then you can use the finer tip and come back in and just things like his little eyebrow, his cheek, his eyes, little whisker dots, and just kind of go over those bits. All right, and that is our little bunny all colored in. So we don't need to die cut him, but we do need to die cut our umbrella. So I'm going to grab my little machine again, grab my plate 3 and 2, put down my umbrella, and there's a die for that, which is nice. Trying to cut out that handle would be kind of a pain. So we just line that up. So we should see the umbrella handle in the top. And here we go. Voila, perfectly cut umbrella. So sweet. Okay, we get to put these together. So our little umbrella is just going to go into our bunny's hand, and I want the umbrella to stick off of the circle a little bit. I'm going to use a mini glue dot for this. Normally I'd use my Take Your Pick tool to pick them up, but for this one, I'm just going to actually put the umbrella over top of the mini glue dot on the roll, and then peel it off with that mini glue dot sticking to the back. And put the umbrella down in his hand, let it stick off the edge of the circle, and we're done. So next are dimensionals, of course. Now I don't want any in the center because our ribbon runs behind there. So I'm going to put one off to the side, each side, and then kind of in the other corner of our circle. Just making kind of a rectangle on there and avoiding that center strip where the ribbon will go. All right. Now when we put this down, we want to make sure that our ribbon isn't covering up our bunny and that our edge is lined up with the edge of that rainbow piece. There we go. And then our cloud can go on here with dimensionals as well. So just pop 2 on the back of that. And I did kind of have my umbrella, or oh my gosh, my cloud just slightly overlapping my circle. And then to finish this card, we will bring in some iridescent rhinestones. Now I went a little crazy with them on this card. I don't know, rainbows and shiny things, just, it goes together for me. So I grabbed rhinestones and put them everywhere. I did try to kind of create triangles. So I've got like 2 here and 2 here, and then both of them will create triangles into the center one that I put on the card. Okay. So it's not completely random. There is a madness, or a pattern to the madness. And that is our card finished, our 3rd card. So I'm going to bring in all the cards that we created today so you guys can see the full card kit that you'll have access to. And oops, I should just fold that down a bit so it stays closed. So I've got that card and our first little card with our turtle. So sweet. So those are the cards that we'll make in this week's card class. Oh, thanks, Greta. Yeah, go for it. It's a great way to use up those 1/2-inch strips that we have so many of. So yeah, that is this week's card class. You can get the make and takes for this. That includes like your ribbon bits and everything, your DSP, by placing a $60 order with me. And for anybody who places a $70 order, I'll actually include a pack of the iridescent rhinestones as well. So check that out. Also make sure to check out my upcoming events. I don't have all the details posted yet, but I do have dates posted. I have an upcoming annual catalog launch. I'm doing an in-person one on May 6th, followed by an online catalog launch with my creative crafters trio, so Greta and Christy. We're going to put on an event online. We also have In Color Club starting up in May. And we have a new color stamp camp, and we're running that one a little bit differently. It's not going to be a full day stamp camp. It's actually going to be 3 evenings. And it'll be 9 cards total over the course of 3 evenings. And then, of course, everything's available on replay. If you can't make it on those nights, you'll be able to catch up and watch it on another day. It'll be there in a group just for you. So yeah, lots of new stuff coming with the new catalog. So check that out, reach out to me and ask questions, and I will have sign-up forms for those hopefully posted by the end of the week. All right, take care, everyone.